po tayo. Ito na ang unang text na pasok dito. Si Levi Rosal of Masbate, 0929-238-2982. Good evening. Computerization of voting is good, but the system must be foolproof. The COMELEC is not doing its best to improve the electoral process. Even the voters' IDs are not validated per voters' data. Hence, many of the IDs issued have erroneous data. Wow! Pero tama ka sa mga komentaryo mo dyan. Ang pinakamahalaga dun sa sinabi nitong kapatid natin, that the system must be foolproof. And that is what you guys are trying to do, to ensure that the thing is foolproof because the COMELEC does not seem to be making and taking all the steps to ensure that it is foolproof. Now, is that right? Is that the right of any citizen of this nation? Any voter in this nation has a right to inquire into the process and point out kung meron diferensya, di ba?
Okay. Actually, yung sa foolproof, if you would read the letter of the law, yung minimum system for Section 7 of Republic Act 9369, maliwanag sinasabi doon that there must be a feature that will show to the voters yung boto niya was counted or not. Ano nakikita natin? Congratulations.
Bumoto ka, pero wala na, hindi alam.
Hindi mo alam kung pumasok na bilang ba yung boto mo. And then isa pa, bakit yung resulta ng ER, electoral results, lumalabas merong petsa April 28, may petsang May 4. At sasabihin na lang ng commissioner lang.
In other words, before the election.
Exactly. Sasabihin nila, actually, April 28 is May 10. Kasi nagkamali lang daw ang engineer, iayusin na yung oras. Hindi eh. Ginagawa tayong mangmang eh. Tsaka kung tutusin mo, kung meron nga gano'n, dapat, ang pananagutan sa COMELEC, huwag nang bilangin yung mga resulta na ang petsa hindi May 10.
Alam mo, ang tinitingnan ko dito, part of the reason why I'm also very upset is basically because the politicians themselves don't want to do anything to force and to pressure the COMELEC into taking its job seriously and ensuring the accuracy of the tabulation and the voting.
It's worse. It's worse because the non-politicians who should be doing their job to
are also not doing
the
it.
sanctity of the exercise is the Supreme Court. Alam na nila, nahuli na nila na may nandaya dun sa kaso ni Zubiri at ni Coco Pimentel, pero hindi naman nila sinasabi sa taong bayan sino yung nandaya.
Alam mo,
kumbaga, it's a case of a crime was committed
without the criminal.
With proof beyond reasonable doubt, but
no
we don't know who the criminal is.
Alam mo kasi, it's a matter of legal infirmity. Because I think anyone who is proclaimed, and it is proven that he is proclaimed because of cheating, has got to be the first person who will suffer. It is not just a matter of taking him out of office.
Okay.
That is the first person that ought to pay the price.
But the other senators are quiet.
Alam ko na intindihan ko yan because alam mo naman doon, ayaw kitang pulaan kasi baka mamaya ako naman ang you know, I have to, know which side of my bread is buttered. And the fact that the senators do not have the moral courage to stand for what is right, what can I tell you? Ito nga, nagbibigay ng regalo pininindigan pa something which is really illegal. What right does the President have to give gifts to other senators of people's money? Abay, kung galing sa bulsa niya, wonderful.
Pero yung COA, tahimik.
Tahimik ang COA. Yan nga ang problema. Bakit? Nasa bulsa ba?
But ombudsman, tahimik.
Yun, dito nga dati nakikita na kung minsan talaga, yung matuwid na daan ay baluktot na daan. Because we practice. Pag ikay nasa poder, hindi ka maaaring magkamali. Pag ikay kaaway, maski na tama ang ginagawa mo, babariling kita. Hindi tama. Ba't gagawin kong hindi tama? At gagamitin ko lahat ng kaya ko para tumbahin ka at baliktarin ka. This is the problem with a matter of governance that is assailing this country now. And for all the good intentions, sabi nga nila, the road to perdition is paved with good intentions. You know, the how and the why are very important. It is not just the why that matters, but the how is equally important because we live under another set of rules that say the end does not justify the means.
I go back to your distinction between questions of law and questions of facts. Yung sa Supreme Court, questions of law yan, tama ka doon. Yung questions of fact, lalo na dito sa electoral cheating, sa COMELEC yan eh. Why are they not so assiduous in telling the Filipino people the truth about the Hello Garci controversy, about the Mig-Subiri cheating incident? Bakit hindi? So this should tell the Filipino people there is an institutional problem. There is a
There
systemic
is a
problem.
systemic corruption problem. I know, I want to be blunt about it rather than trying to be polite about it. The problem also there is probably, ay naku, we don't want to speak about it, mawawala ng galang at ang tao sa sistema. Abay, kung talaga naman bulok yung sistema mo, anong gusto mo? Purihin ka dahil sa bulok yung sistema mo?
Alam mo, yun doon sa, yung situation natin dito is no different than the situation in the United States. Interestingly though, there was one flaw, not one, twice, nangyari to, yung Gore versus Bush. Alam natin, nagkaipit-ipit sa Florida, nagkaroon ng kaso laban doon, and then they came this group called black box voting, pinakita nila paano nangyari dayan, but they brought it to the courts, in-ignore. Then, nagkaroon ng evidences when Bush was challenged by Kerry in 2004. This time, you could point the button voting for Kerry, but the system will count Bush. So there's definitely a malicious software. And again, they brought this to court. But what has happened?
America na yan.
America na yan, and yet Bush was allowed to run the state for 8 years.
Maybe their PCOS machine is smarter.
No, but the thing is, when you look at this, the bigger picture, hindi lang tayo ang namamroblema.
Alam mo naman, you guys know so much of the technicalities in the electronic industry, that you can put a virus that will self-destruct after it does its work. So even if you examine it after the fact, hindi mo makikita.
Yes.
Well, there is a precedent in Germany. The Supreme Court of Germany declared the use of automated elections as contrary to the concept of sovereignty.
Correct.
Because there is no complete transparency in the process. But you know what happened? In spite of their declaration of that sovereign and jurisdictional defect, they sustained the elections of the representatives of the Bundestag.
Okay. And
Why? Because the political consequence of declaring it null and void would have created chaos. Elected na eh.
Okay.
Alam mo,
Kumbaga, done deal na.
Alam mo, ang suspense ako dito, the Supreme Court sometimes does take political considerations in hand. Now, the question is, should they? And I think what you've raised there is the same issue. This is why even the Supreme Court or equivalent courts in many other nations end up making a house show decision because they cannot accept the idea that it might result in chaos.
in crisis.
Or in a crisis for the nation. So sabi nila, sa lugar na makatulong tayo sa problema, lalo lang lumalala ang problema. Question ko dito, are they entitled to play that kind of a God? If their task is to interpret the law, that is what they should do. In other words, should they be strict, ang basa mo dito, should they be strict constructionists or should they be liberals and douse their interpretation of the law and bend it one way or the other, either for socialistic reasons or for other reasons?
Isa't pang example yun sa Supreme Court, no? Yung question of law. Maliwanag yung batas, sa saligang batas. Pero yung paglabag, isinasaksak sa sikmura ng taong bayan, pinipuwersa. Katulad nung nakalagay dyan sa ating saligang batas, ang Pangulo ay hindi magiging karapat-dapat sa anumang muling paghahalal. Official translation, the President shall not be eligible for any re-election. Gloria Arroyo was President for 9 years, and Judge Comelec allowed her to be re-elected as Congresswoman. So the question is the constitutional prohibition not clear enough? Alam mo, ang sabi ni Senator Tartat, hindi alam ano yan eh. It refers to the presidency. Sabi ko, tama po sana yan eh. Kung wala yung salitang any. Dapat nakalagay lang, the president shall not be eligible for re-election. Pero nung nilagyan ng any, tama yung Filipino translation. Anumang muling paghalal. Eh yung to run for congressman, muling paghahalal yan eh. Eh paano mo paliliwanag yan sa barbero ko?
Okay, from 0917-589-2665. Ang masama, last election, ito mo ito, pre-shaded ang baloto na ibinigay binibigay sa mga voters dito sa Tuguegarao City. May mga nahuling teacher na nagbibigay niyan. Walang na-penalize. Ba, yung pala yung boto mo doon na dapat mong diliman yung mga nakabilog doon. Ba, pagdating sa iyo, ba'y markado na yung balota?
Alam mo, isa pang problema kasi dyan, yung political dynasties na they can act with impunity in certain areas in the country. Only an organized dynasty will be able to do that.
Alam mo, kanya ako, I'm saying, no, nakakahiya ang ating Kongreso, upper and lower house, for not defining the anti-dynasty provisions that the Constitution has tasked them to do, and they have not done it for over 20 years. That is a shame. Kanya sa akin, kung meron diyang part ng political dynasty, talagang hindi ko iboboto eh.
Alam mo yung example niya sa Tuguegarao na meron ng pre-shaded, and it also happens in other provinces. Pag gano'n na nangyari na enkwentro nila, alam mo gawin nila, kung tanggapin nila yung balota, i-shade na nila yung kanilang kandidato para ma-void na yon. Para pag pinasok mo rin, hindi na mabibilang yung pre-shaded candidate. That way, magkaroon na sila ng zero out. Kaysa hayaan mo na yung balota na ipasok mo sa makina at bibilangan niya ng tama yon. Na hindi naman tama, bibilangan niya para doon sa kandidatong naka-pre-shaded.
Yung pandaraya sa eleksyon, massacre yan ng sovereign will. Pero yung political dynasty na sinasabi natin, merong equivalent, may consequential, real massacre yan, katulad sa Maguindanao. Kapag you can act with impunity, hindi lang electoral massacre. Meron talagang actual...
Physical massacre.
Physical, human.
Alam mo, dito kailangan natin tingnan sa bagay. People ask me, what's the most important reform that we should pursue? My position has been consistent. Unless you have true, credible, honest elections where people can have confidence that their votes are counted and that the tabulation will truly reflect the will of the people as far as those that are elected for office, you do not have a democracy. I don't care what pretense you put.
I will translate your requirement. What you are requiring would be a true, honest, and incorruptible politician.
Hindi naman dapat politician ng
because it is the politicians who make the laws, it's the politicians who enforces the law. So, kaya nga sinulat ko yan minsan yung as may be provided by law sa Constitution, namumutik-tik yan, ang dami. That simply means as may be provided by a majority of the senators and the congressmen. That is what it actually means.
Yeah. Because no law can be passed except by the majority of the members of the Congress.
But then what happens is when they violate the law, the implementers, the one is at fault here. They have the culpability. In the case nga sa Comelec.
Even the defense of a number of politicians about refusing to act on the issue of defining the anti-dynasty provisions are so lame. How can I deprive my wife or my daughter or my son or my nephew of their political rights to run for office? Because the national good demands it, and it is defined in the Constitution that you are sworn to uphold.
And it's worse than that, kasi they blame the people for electing them.
They were elected to observe the law and to pass new laws. That's what they were elected to do.
Let me put in something about the political dynasty ban, no? Ang sinasabi nila, it cannot be implemented, the ban will not be realized until Congress defines the term. That's not true. Because when you define a law, and then you violate the ban, then there is violation of the law and therefore it is void. But under the civil code, it is not only violation of the law that renders the act void. It's also violation of public policy. So even if Congress has not acted in defining political dynasty...
The same Comelec can do so.
No. Those who wrote the Constitution had an idea of what political dynasty means. It's different from as may be defined by Congress, but definitely that would suffice for purposes of public policy. In other words, what I'm saying is, political dynasties are illegal because they are contrary to public policy.
But who will police that? Who will police that?
It should be the Comelec. Yes, they should take the cudgels for that and then have their action questioned before the Supreme Court.
But I also say that the ones who framed the Constitution were very ill-advised in putting that provision.
And ill-advised, there's something wrong really. That is the original
They did
sin.
not want to, you put that provision of anti-dynasty, pero naduwag ka ngayong i-define doon sa Constitution. Why, and then you leave it to Congress and the Senate to do that? You can expect these people to resist.
Inhumane treatment, subhuman conditions in the penal institutions, that's provided for in the Bill of Rights. And you know how the constitutional writers treated it? They did not provide for an objective standard. They did not say it's prohibited to treat them with inadequate penal facility. Well, you know what they said? They said should be dealt with by law. In other words, it's a cop-out. And that's in the Constitution. And that's why I agree with you when you say the original sin is by the writers.
Amen. From 0929-238-2982 from Levi Rosal of Masbate, a question to your guests. Is it possible that a PCOS machine may have additional features of issuing a receipt for a ballot cast? I think that's the point that you were pointing out, Toti, no?
Right. And it is possible kasi yun
Para
nga
paglabas mo, meron kang listahan, ito ba talaga ang binoto ko?
And then, saka, free program. Palagay na natin, kaya sinasabi nga doon, ang lagi sa batas, that yung PCOS, kahit anong technology yan, meron sa feature na malalaman mo kung yung boto mo na bilang. At dahil dito hindi mo malaman kung na bilang, kahit anong ilabas nung ilalabas sa resibo na yon,
hindi mo pa rin alam kung yun talaga ang
kaya kailangan mo, dapat mga ma-audit. Meron siyang auditability.
And that goes back to the whole issue of being able to review the source codes for the softwares to find out what kind of Trojans horses have been put in there.
Natandaan mo noon nung 1 week before the elections of May 2010. Di ba nagkabulilyaso yan at ni-recover nila lahat ng mga CF card na na-distribute?
Yes.
And then they were able to gather that and return it back in 7 days in all 7,000 islands. Do we know that those defective CF cards were really replaced? No. But what we discovered by news all over the countryside was there were some inaccuracy in the counting.
Well, sa akin kasi, the biggest problem that we face here is the complicity, and unfortunately, though it's a constitutional body, between the politicians and the COMELEC. And that is very, very obvious, and it's a complicity that has become so symbiotic. One, it's a business as far as, and at least in the past, it always was. I think it's not changed in the COMELEC. And it is in the interest of the people in Congress and Senate to ensure that they retain access to COMELEC and an ability to influence the tabulation.
Constitutionally, that is the precise reason why the Ombudsman was created, to energize the principle of checks and balance. Kasi without the Ombudsman, COMELEC lang, executive lang, legislative lang, kulang eh. Pero the Ombudsman is so silent on these matters. They're so overwhelmed by the magnitude of the problems they are confronted with daily. Libo 35,000 yata ang kaso nila eh.
Wow. And they're ill-equipped.
And it's the same thing with the Supreme Court. That's why cases take 5 years, 10 years, normally. And that is not...
Unless you're willing to take extra legal measures to ensure a rather quick response.
You're talking about the procedure below the Supreme Court.
Or unless you reform the structure and then expand
Below or
the courts.
above? Or both?
I'd say below. Because once it's in the Supreme Court, you have to be a superpower in Philippine politics to be able to make a difference.
I'm not too sure I will agree with you on that, Attorney Alan.
Because you see, whether we like
I can say, let's all hope so.
Oh, all right.
But
I'll be happy with that.
Let's not get anywhere, di ba? Kaya na talaga na yung problema. And this is where I'm saying na talagang naliligalig ang damdamin, dapat maligalig ang damdamin ng ating mga mamamayan na hindi na isaayos at na isatuwid lahat ng objections do sa unang paggamit ng PCOS machines ng Smartmatic. Pagkatapos, parang lalo pa tayong idiniin ngayon sapagkat ang binili nilang makina yung mga ginamit noong 2010. Well, have they been debugged? Has anybody looked at it?
According to the report of COMELEC, they've already done due diligence of checking it. But by which party?
But can they please explain what they did?
No. They have this kind of PR machinery and say that they did already this trusted build, they call it. Recent in a newspaper, they already had this trusted build process, and it's been witnessed by a few political parties and some independent poll watchers. And pero it did not satisfy a lot of the technical issues that we in the community have raised. And to us, parang that is the greatest sin. Because the way the law was crafted is to get away from the tedious manual operation so that everything can be automated, everything be audited. But
And
they
that
just...
the automation process ought to prevent all the cheating that was done
But it
before
just-
in manual. And right now, we always this crisis. No, it just has the cheating has just gone up several notches and levels of
And faster.
and faster and more
it goes,
automatic.
and it goes highest to the highest bidder.
All right, 0917-589-2665. Ay, walang pangalan, magkapatid. Please tell us your name where you're from. Tama po yan. Kontrolado nila dito sa Tuguegarao at sa whole Cagayan province because of dynasty. Your program is an excellent voters education. Ang gandang panurin. Uy, salamat po at natutuwa kayo. Pero ang concern natin, bansa hindi naman yung pagbibida ng sino man Nahanap lang natin dito na mabigyan ng mga mamayan ng pagkakataong siya sa atin talaga ang mga issue so you can come to your own informed decision. Hindi nyo binibili yung nakasulat lang sa dyaryo o lumalabas ng mga press releases. Because many times, hausaw yun
Pero hindi lahat na nanonood natutuwa. Yung iba napipikon.
Napipikon.
Ay, siyempre.
Malamang, marami
alam
na
niyo,
dyan.
pagka naglalabas ka ng katotohanan, talagang na maraming napipikon sapagkat maraming nabubuhay sa hindi katotohanan. Anong gagawin natin?
Okay. Pero ang maganda dito, namulatan din naman ng publiko Kasi noon, bago nagkaroon ng automation, tinatanggap nila, maganda yan, malinis yan, maayos yan Pero nakita nila na bigla na lagbas sa resulta, nagdududa sila sa pagboto. Teka, tama ba to?
Ang problema, Toti, nakikita nila walang ginagawa.
Nung sa una. Pero sa ngayon, nagigising at namumulatan na ang mas marami. Ayun naman sasabi natin, matagal nga yung proseso, at paalayan na madadaan mo sa korte din yan, pero pag ang tao ay gumising at sila na mismo ang mag-alsa.
Yun ang nakakatakot.
Tanong natin, gising na ba kayo, mga kababayan ko? From 0916-929-5285, Ivan Hilahos. Sana wala nang mangyaring dayaan sa darating na halalan. Naku naman, wala pa naman tayo sa langit, kapatid. Kanya wag nating asahan na walang susubok. Para maging maganda, mapayapa at malinis na halalan para sa kaibubuti ng mga mamamayang Pilipino. Siyempre, lahat tayo naghahangad yan, maski na yung gumagawa ng malit, hindi tama, hinahangad yan. Naku, signal naman sa akin, pasensya na po kayo, burso na naman kami ng panahon. Sana po nakinabang kayo sa ating usapan at dami kaming nabigay sa inyong punto na marahil maaari inyong pagnilayan at pag-isip-isipan ng mabuti para magkaroon kayo ng informed choice about what to do. Send those texts to all your congressmen and senators, even to the COMELEC, to tell them exactly what you think. We want a clean and sure election. Thanks, Toti. Thanks, Kaalan, for being with us. I'm sorry that I wish we had 2 more hours to discuss this, but we don't. We'll see you next week. God bless you. And thank you for being with us.